Hello and welcome to Talkin Baseball. It is the playoffs, baby, and we are previewing all of the wild card series. Let's get it! What is going on, everybody? The playoffs are here. There are no more regular season baseball games. Myself, Trevor Plouffe, BBD, John Boy sends his regards from the plane he is flying to his sister's wedding in Colorado on this wild card eve. Trevor, this whole thing's presented to you by SeatGeek. Code Talkin, 20% off your first purchase. How are you doing, big dog?
I am so fired up for a couple different reasons. I told you one privately off air, but the biggest reason, we got playoff baseball. I was so sick of the regular season, dude. I hope it didn't come off that way on our shows. I try to bring the energy every day, but I was sick of the regular season, dude. I'm trying to get to the postseason where all these games matter, and we have some bangers of some matchups coming up, man. I know we're going to talk about a lot of them today. I woke up today, seriously, like excited to do all this talking baseball today, everything. And I do that. I'm always excited about it, but I got a little extra pep in my step, bro.
God, I love that.
How about you?
I love that. I'm getting there. We were doing a lot of stuff yesterday. We did a really fun John Boy Media Day. My Yankees, yawn. I guess we'll see who's there when we get there, but yes, I mean, wild card weekend. I'm so excited. This morning I was
Hold on. Are you trying to say I don't care because my Yanks gotta wait for this peasant of a round, as Blooper called it.
Me and Blooper get confused for each other a lot, but I did not say that. No, dude, I got excited for the balances and the ups and downs of each series, like we're about to talk about in each of these wild card matchups. If they steal the first game, are they going to save their better starting pitcher for game 3? I think we're going to be talking about that a little bit. I'm excited for, some of these environments are going to be rowdy. And, if the Seattle Mariners, if they take one in Toronto, that crowd is going to be rowdy. What are the vibes going to be there? Like, we've got a lot of teams. Citi Field, oh my God. They thought they were winning the division. That place is going to be ready to go nuts. That place is also going to be timid if they start going down. So I'm just excited to feel the energy of all of it. Phillies, Cardinals, I haven't even wrapped my head around, if I'm being honest. Rays, Guardians, the early matchup to start it off. But guess what? That's going to be some really good baseball. And Trev, I think at this point we just got to get into it. And I think for those tuning in, podcast is normal. YouTube, we're YouTubing a little bit, so each series is going to be its own video, and this first one is going to be Mariners, Blue Jays. We decided to start there. Two of the most talented teams in this wild card format. Two of these teams that mirror each other in a way. Toronto, East Coast, Seattle, West Coast. Lot of young talent on these teams. Hopefully the start of many multiple year playoff runs for both of these teams. And this preview is brought to you by Cuts. These teams made the cuts, and so does Cuts clothing. They're perfectly tailored, fit, insanely comfortable, and ball players wear them. I've told you many times by this point. Bryce Harper's wearing this. He's in the wild card. Walker Buehler, guess what? He's wearing it. He ain't in that wild card, though. The Dodgers don't do that. And Mariano Rivera, does he seem like a wild card guy? Nah. He seems like a Hall of Fame guy. That little cutter, Class A, he's just got it 10 miles per hour fastball. Cuts clothing, whether you're into the long sleeve Henley or the short sleeve crew neck, they've got it for you and your perfect style. Go check out Cuts clothing. They are fashion. They are a lifestyle, man. And you will get 15% off at cutsclothing.com/baseball. That's cutsclothing.com/baseball for 15% off. The only shirt worth wearing. Trevor, the Toronto Blue Jays, like I teed it up, all of their hitters because you might have even known their pops and seen them play baseball. They got a ton of those guys. The Seattle Mariners, They got a couple guys on offense. People may have heard us talk about J.P. Crawford, that Julio guy. Their rotation, Luis Castillo, Robbie Ray, Logill, Kevin Gossman, Alek Manoah, Jose Barrios, your boy.
Did you forget George Kirby for the Mariners? Don't do that.
I won't. They've got a bullpen, both of these sides. Jordan Romano always dreamed of being a Blue Jay, and he's their closer right now. Toronto is going to be ready to explode, and like I said, with these two young, talented teams and their dreams for this year and the upcoming seasons, the fact that one of them isn't going to be playing baseball come Monday is kind of disgusting, because both these rosters are talented, young, and ready to go for the next couple years. So, Trevor, our stats and research team did so much stuff on this. Our sheet is awesome. And I will kick it to you, Trevor, because where do you even start with this series?
I think we congratulate both these teams on putting up, because they had put up or shut up, man, in this 2022 for both of these teams. We got Vlad talking about last year being the preview, and this year's the movie. And Seattle Mariners, the run they went on last year, we challenged them. I called them dead this year. But both these teams made it to the postseason. I think you have to get some snaps that obviously we know about the Mariners playoff drought. It's in a way, these two teams are very similar in that regard. I think when you look at the overall rosters, I think the pitching kind of matches up. I would say Seattle has the advantage in the bullpen. I think the starters, God, they might even have the advantage with the starters. Blue Jays, no slouch in that regard either. I think it's going to come down to, in this series, what Seattle's offense going to do. You're going to have to show up. This isn't like a high OBP, high batting average type of team. We're going to have to go in there and we're going to have to hit some homers. And you can do that in Toronto. And I think you can almost say the same thing about the Blue Jays offensively. I mean, this is one of the better offenses in all of baseball. I think they're longer in their lineup than the Blue Jays are. If they come out and start slugging the ball the way they can, I think I got to favor the Blue Jays in this one. But this is baseball, and the Mariners have the pitching to neutralize that offense as well. So I think this is going to be the best series. I don't know if I'm most interested in this, because Chris Rose asks me these dumb questions all the time. What am I most interested in? I think I'm most interested in Padres Mets. But I think this series is going to be the best baseball that we see all weekend.
Yeah, for me, I tend to agree, and I think that's kind of why we started here, right? Because it's so much talent. I mean, I'll start reading names. I mean, George Springer, been there, done that. The pride of Connecticut. Bo Bichette, Vladdy Jr., Alejandro Kirk, Teoscar Hernandez has been going nuts lately. Your boy, Matt Chapman. Watch out, Whit Merrifield at the bottom of the lineup. Had a nice last couple days for Toronto. And that's not including guys like Gabriel Moreno, Kevin Biggio. If Jackie Bradley Jr. finds his way into the outfield for one of those games, I bet he does something, because I've seen him do it before. The Seattle Mariners, up and down their lineup. Julio, he came back. Ty France had an amazing year. Your boy Eugenio, Mitch Haniger, Cal Raleigh. And it's so crazy that 2 or 3 games is going to decide how we treat these teams for the next calendar year, basically. Like, if the Mariners advance and win a series, and we're going to be like, well, the Mariners, they won the wild card last year, and they're building up for something. Whichever one of these teams loses, I think is going to be severely disappointed. And that home field advantage looms so large in my head, being in Toronto with that place rocking, compared to Seattle, which would have been pure chaos. I'm excited to see the game flows of these games. Their high-end talent, I feel, matches up really well with the starting pitchers. And I wonder, I think the only place where I have these teams, I think Toronto's offense, top to bottom, I have a little better. But I do think Seattle's bullpen, yes, I prefer a little better. So I'm wondering 100%. how those dynamics and gameplay are going to balance off of each other.
We're probably going to say this for every series, Jake. I think game one is so fucking important.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
right?
pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Like, game one's very important. You got Alek Manoah going for the Blue Jays, and you got Luis Castillo going for the Mariners. And it's going to be tough for either team to score runs off these pitchers. So Toronto is going to have to come out and try to jump Castillo some way. Because, again, you mentioned Seattle's bullpen. They've been pretty much lights out, and we have some pretty fun adjectives to describe the bullpen. And I want to give, again, a shout-out to our team here. The Bomberos got it all. They got a guy who throws gas. That's Andres Munoz. They got filthy breaking balls. That's Matt Brash. They got precision. That's our guy Swanson. Funk with my best name in baseball, Penn Murphy. And then just fabulous stuff with their de facto closer. I don't know if they really have a closer per se, but I would say Seawald is their guy. He'll come in some high leverage situations every now and then too. Toronto's got to go early. I do have one tidbit because I know we're on a time crunch here. We're trying to get these things in. Eugenio Suarez. Hey, Eugenio, my guy. One of the callers today asked, what's the difference, man? Like, this guy was a throw-in in the Jesse Winker trade. By the way, Jesse Winker will not be playing in either of the first 2 rounds of the playoffs for the Mariners. Hey, Eugenio was a throw-in, or so you thought. But if you went and looked at his Baseball Savant page, and I'm going to give a shout-out to justbaseball.com because this is the article that I read. BB will link that for me, please. Eugenio Suarez in 2021 was awful against hitting sinkers. All of his Baseball Savant numbers, the same. He's a guy that barrels up the ball, Jake. Great barrel percentage and walk percentage. That's what he does, okay? But let me get back to this. In 2021, against sinkers, mind you, he saw 421 of them, hit 129 for a negative 17 run value. Well, the Mariners probably saw this. I don't know if they saw it before or they saw it after, but they made an adjustment. He made an adjustment. 2022, he's seen 455 sinkers. He's batting 330 against them. And that's the difference in the numbers and the quality of at bats. One little thing like that. And guess who throws sinkers? Alek Manoah, 25% of the time. I bet we see them challenge Eugenio at the top of the zone. But I think little stuff like that is so cool to find out because we thought Eugenio was going to be a salary dump for them. He had a hell of a year, man. I'm excited to see what he does in the postseason.
Whew. Man, looking at these team stats, it's so interesting. These Blue Jays, man, they've been waiting for this. Like, that is the other interesting part to me as we talk about the young talent. Like, we know the popcorn quote before the season. The Mariners, they were kind of hoping this was their popcorn year, and it was. You know, they popped off. My Halos got off to a good start. Remember that? How long ago does that feel? And the Mariners clicked. They hung around 500 for a while. They started to go. These games, by the way, I think it'll be interesting to note. 4:07 on Friday. They will be 4:07 on Saturday. And then we'll see. They would be the early Sunday game. So we'll see if any of that matters at all. Man, that first game, Luis Castillo, I think if you want to thrive on being on the road, you have to want to be the bad guy, right? When you got 45K people in the stands looking at you and all they want is you to do badly, you need to want that. You need to want to hurt people's feelings. I think Luis Castillo is perfect for that. He loves being that dude on the mound, kind of gladiator style. Like, I don't care, because I'm going to throw that changeup when you don't expect it and get you out, and then I'm going to dice you up. Alek Manoah may be the dream home starter in a game 1. I mean, talk about a dude that can feed off the crowd. And I think that's why we started with this series. Robbie Ray, the Cy Young winner, against his former team. Robbie Ray's been struggling lately. I know there's even been some discussions, are they going to push him for Logan Gilbert, who has been so good lately? And Trev, I think maybe you get this out of the way now because it's with this new 3-game wildcard format. In every series, we could see some shuffling with the pitchers. Nothing's in stone.
I think I'm going to ask you that question in every rotation.
Yeah.
Okay. So we know the game 1 starters, and that's fine. You're going to throw your horse game 1. Now, if either team wins game 1, they can decide, well, the guy that we like second best, should we save him, try to win this game too so we can save him for the next series. I think a lot of teams are going to employ that strategy because even if you say you win game 1 and you have your second best starter and you're going to save him for game 3, you lose game 2, you still have this guy ready to go for you to finish off the series. But I think it's a risk that a lot of the organizations are going to be willing to take to try to have that pitching lined up for the 5 games divisional series. Because if you do that and you do win the first 2 games, again, this is all circumstantial. And if you win the first game or the first 2 games, you'll have your top 2 guys able to throw 3 times in the 5-game set, just like the teams that had the bye. So this massive advantage I said that teams with the bye are going to have, you can neutralize it by winning the first 2 games of this 3-game set and not throwing your guy game 2. We'll see if they do that. I'm not sure either of these teams really are set up for that. Like, so if, for instance, if the Blue Jays win game 1 behind Manoah, do you think they're going to go to Stripling or Barrios in game 2 and then just like save Gausman for game 3? I don't know if they're willing to do that. Other teams might be willing to do that if you have a number 3 that you really love. In Seattle, I could see them saying, yeah, let's save Logan. Let's save Kirby. Let's throw Robbie game 2 if they win game 1 and see what happens. He can pull up with a great start at any moment. So I think there is going to be a lot of shuffling going on, and it's all going to be on game 1.
And it feels funny how much of that somewhat ties into team identity. Like, just knowing who those Blue Jays are, you're so right. If they win game 1, they're not going to say, like, hey, get out there, Barrios, and see if you have a good day. They go for the throat, man. That's who these Jays are.
But if you do that,
right,
then Barrios or Stripling is starting game 1 for you.
Right.
Of the NLDS. So it's like you just kind of have to figure it out, man. The only way this whole thing works out is if you win the first 2 games and you don't use your second pitcher in game 2. It's going to be interesting, man. And I told C Rose this morning. This is when managers make their money. The regular season, they don't do shit. They don't. Okay, like they're vibe creators.
Yeah.
But making pitching changes in the postseason, deciding if you're going to leave a guy out there for 6 outs. When are you going to take your start? We'll never forgive Kevin Cash for taking out Blake Snell.
Yeah.
Like, these are the decisions, man. I'm excited to see because this is the extra caveat that every team's going to have to figure out.
And by the way, bullpen, which we know how massive that is come playoff time. Trev, you know this. The more these hitters see a guy, the better they get. And in 3 straight days, which a lot of bullpen guys don't do anymore, I wonder just what that looks like. Will these managers, like that button pressing you're talking about, will they, whichever team is up, will they maybe, the Mariners with the depth in their bullpen, will they maybe try to get through an inning with a Brash or a Festa that to maybe not use a Sewald or Munoz because you could have them available fresh for tomorrow? On the Blue Jays side, that third time you get to see Adam Simber is a lot easier than that first time, especially in 3 straight days. So I'm so excited to see that. And it's the Mariners' strength being their bullpen. If those Toronto hitters get 3 days to look at those guys. And then the Blue Jays bullpen, while they probably have, the Blue Jays would maybe have the starting pitcher disadvantage in game 3, depending how they do it. We don't know if there'd be any Gausman funny business or something like that. If it's Romano the 3rd day in a row, or a Meza, or a Simber, or whatever it is, those little things against, especially when I come back to that top of the Blue Jays lineup and it's Springer, Bichette, Guerrero. Whew, I don't know. You give those guys a third look, I think those guys punish you regularly.
Bottom line is, if the Blue Jays offense shows up, they're going to win the series. If Seattle's pitching can shut them down, I think they have enough offense to go win the series. I think they're set up. Seattle is set up much better on the pitching front. They have more depth. I think that's going to be it's going to matter a lot in this series and in the playoffs in general. You're going to hear me talk about who has the advantage in the bullpen and the starting pitching, and I'm probably going to pick those teams to win the playoffs because that's the way my mind works. In these series, man, when you really pare it down, you just have your A guys out there all the time. I guess I'm supposed to give a pick now. I kind of just gave away my pick. I think I'm going to pick the Seattle Mariners here, man. I
Wow.
think they're just too deep pitching wise, and I think they're on a mission. I love Toronto. I want to see them go off, but if you're asking me to pick between A pitching versus A offense, I'm usually going to pick A pitching to win that battle.
I mean, I love it, Trev. I think on paper, neutral site, I do like the Mariners roster slightly better. And I think I like it over a 7-game series better. But in 3 games in Toronto, and you know who I think I'm circling the more I flip back and forth between these rosters. Like, I obviously love Vladdy and Bichette and Alejandro Kirk and Teoscar. And
Get to the point, Big Daddy.
I
Get
love
to the point.
Julio. I love all the Mariners. George Springer has been there and done this how many times? I might circle him as the difference and that Toronto crowd because I think you could split these teams with a hair. Give me Toronto in 3. George Springer is the difference maker.
Love it.